realize I was paused, so let me go back here. How to make coding equitable and create student engagement during the COVID-19 pandemic. And then you can follow us on our social media channels. And our CodeMonkey ambassadors today are going to share a little bit about their blogs that they've created. I like to start off with just introducing myself. My name is Lena Saleh, and I'm the Sales and Professional Development Manager here at CodeMonkey. You can follow me on Twitter, or you can email me at any time at lena.s@codemonkey.com. I, like you, am a former classroom teacher, and obviously all of this remote learning and thing has also affected us all as well. So we hope we can provide you some value during today's webinar. And if you have any questions, please put them in the chat box or the Q&A, and we will get to your questions the best that we can during today's webinar. If we don't answer your question, we'll make sure to follow up with anything left untouched. So now I'm going to present my great team that is with me here today, and that is our CodeMonkey teacher ambassadors. All right, so we're going to go ahead with Paige.
Hi, my name is Paige Besthoff, and I'm from New Jersey, and I've been teaching computer science for approximately 20 years. I'm currently teaching digital technology and the gifted and talented program for grades 2 through 5, where our concentration is in coding, robotics, STEAM. Before becoming a teacher, I worked in the nonprofit field, tracking employment trends, and my area of expertise and what I stress is getting students ready for careers.
What's better than career readiness? Thank you so much, Paige, for joining us and developing this webinar today. Michelle?
I am Michelle Ward, and I'm a pre-K through 8th grade keyboard computer apps, computer science teacher, CodeMonkey teacher ambassador. I am a CSTA member, and I'm also presenting at ISTE 20. It was this summer, but it's been moved to November. I am a 23-year veteran teacher. I taught 18 years at the high school. 5 of those years, the high school was advanced computers. Taught a little bit of everything: desktop publishing, interactive multimedia presentation, web design 1 and 2. I'm proficient in the Adobe Design Suite, as well as HTML and JavaScript. I was also 13 years high school teacher with the math, everything from pre-algebra all the way up to Algebra 2 and technical geometry. I am a certified digital designer. I also taught accounting 201 and 202 as an adjunct professor. As you can see, I'm a forever student and a self-taught coder. My area expertise is Microsoft 365, and I'm also a certified Microsoft Innovative Educator.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Michelle. All right, Javier.
I have a mute. Sorry. Good morning, everyone. My name is Javier Aguilar. I'm a bilingual teacher and is for World Montessori Academy. We are a Montessori school to serve pre-K to 5th graders. And I truly believe if my commitment as an educator is to provide a good coding applications to my students. So I am a proud ambassador for Osmo, also hosting night camp in my schools, and Lego Master Educator. As a geek person, I really love Legos. It's a form of creativity and hands-on. So I really love Legos, and also a BitsBots ambassador. It's another company to provide us JavaScript examples, and also I'm proud to be a CodeMonkey ambassador and to present in different net camps. This is my 6th year in this school where no computer science for all. So when I presented this to my administration, say, you're crazy. These kids, they can learning coding. They don't know how to type or they don't know how to do it. Say, let's do it because they have fundamentals for code.org. So my goal is a father of 2 girls to empower more girls and to have everybody the same opportunity to learn computer science. So like I said, I'm a bilingual teacher. If you have any questions in Spanish, I'm here to help you guys. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Javier. Before we get started, I just want to let you know that this webinar was entirely created by our teacher ambassadors. So they have put lots of hard work, blood, sweat, and tears into today's presentation. So Feel free to ask them any questions, and they're happy to be here along the way. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started.
Hi, so today's activities are going to include talking about student engagement, collaboration, equity amongst your students, some unplugged activities, and talking about skills and incentives to get your students engaged. Next. Okay, so I'm going to start out talking about how to engage your students during distance learning. Okay, next. Okay. Go back one, please.
Oops, did I mess up the order here?
Okay.
Oh, this is the right one. Oops, sorry. This one, right? Or no?
Nope. You're too far ahead.
Too far. Something's missing? Oh, I did go too far. I'm so sorry, you guys.
That's okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Next. Okay, here we go. All right. So once a week, I see my students in person. So now that we're doing distance learning weekly, I post a teacher video talking about what the activity for the week is going to be, giving them their instructions. And right now I'm using Flipgrid, but you can use Seesaw or some other applications. And then once my students watch me in my video with the directions, they go on to CodeMonkey, they work on their lessons, and then I have them come back into the application and they talk about how they've solved the puzzles. So here are some students who were screenshots, so you can see how my students post their puzzles. Okay, next. Okay, so next we're going to talk about how to foster collaboration. So it's really important to me that my students see me and they have a connection with me, as well as them seeing each other. Again, we're all social distancing, so we really want them to feel that they're part of a community. So what I've done is, if my students have a cell phone, but they do not have any devices at home, I have them use some kind of video chat application, FaceTime, Skype, Google Hangout, Zoom, and I have them do what's called paired programming. So paired programming is when two people work on a coding activity together using only one device. So when I'm in my classroom, as you can see, there's a picture of my two students. They're using one device and they're working collaboratively together. But since they cannot be together, what we do is they do some kind of video chat, and I know a lot of families did that over the holidays last week, and very popular to do a Zoom or house party with your family members. So I have them do the same type of thing. One student will use the device. They'll show the device on their screen to their peer, and they'll work together on the puzzles. Even if students have their own devices, they can still work over the phone together. I remember as a high school student talking with my friends on the phone, working together on different assignments. So this way you always have somebody to work with you. Okay, next. Okay, so I post my assignments in Google Classroom, but if any of the learning management systems will do. And what I do is I'll post the assignment and my students will comment on each other's work. So this way, again, they have some kind of connection. If a student is stuck on a puzzle and not sure what they should be working on, they don't know what to do, I don't have to be the only one to help them. I currently have 407 students, so it's very difficult for me to reach each and every one of them, and a lot of them will have the same question on the same puzzle. So I allow my students to post comments and ask questions while they're in Google Classroom. And also, if a student found a puzzle particularly challenging and they know that their classmates are going to need some help, I have them record themselves teaching how to do that puzzle. And again, that brings us all closer together. I also use a program called Pear Deck, but you could also use Nearpod, Bunsey, Edpuzzle. There are a couple of other different companies that you can use. And what I do is I have asynchronous lessons for my students. So I create in Google Slides using a Pear Deck of Edition, and they go through the slides individually at their own pace, and they can learn unplugged coding activities. Okay, next. Okay, so a lot of students, again, I mentioned before, do not have devices. I have many students who do not have access to any devices, but I want to make sure that they're still learning coding. I want to make sure that things are equitable. So my next slide. So what I do is I can give them paper and pencil activities. So for students who do not have access to any devices at home, they can build an obstacle course using pillows, toys, stuffed animals, household items, and they can write the code to teach their family members how to actually get through this obstacle course. I have a lot of students who are siblings, so I hope that they are working, well, they are working together, some of them, and working through the puzzles and creating different courses for themselves. If they have access to a phone, maybe a parent's phone, they can take a picture of it, and then they can upload that to Google Classroom for evidence of learning. For those families where the parents are busy because they are working and the students do not have anybody at home to interact with, I have them do the same thing. They'll build the obstacle course, and then they can post the picture in Google Classroom, and then their friends and peers can then do the coding activity and also post their responses in Google Classroom. Okay, we also, so we also have different coding vocabulary. The first one I have listed here is algorithms. So algorithms is a list of steps that students, that you could follow for everyday activities. So I could have students write out a list of different algorithms. Another vocabulary word is loops, and that's something that repeats over and over again. So you can have your students write out a list of things that loop. So for example, if you want them to brush their hair, you tell them brush your hair from top to bottom, brush your hair from top to bottom, brush your hair from over and over again. Instead, you can say just brush your hair from top to bottom 10 times. And the last activity I have listed here is functions. So a function is something that you don't need to give directions for. For example, make a sandwich. So you would teach somebody how to make that peanut butter and peanut butter and jelly sandwich that first time, and then you don't have to tell them again those individual steps. You can just say, as a function, make a sandwich. Whether you're new to coding or not, you do not have to be the expert. Make sure that you are facilitating and teaching your students how to become the expert. So whether I'm in person or distance learning, I make sure that my students are the ones who are teaching each other how to do the puzzles. And if your students have trouble and they're not sure how to do the puzzles, please remember that CodeMonkey has the teacher solutions there for you. You do not have to be the expert. There's no way that you're going to be able to learn how to do every puzzle possible. Okay, next. If you're interested in finding out more about coding, computer science, or anything that I teach, you can follow me on Twitter, Facebook, check my website, and read my blog post. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paige. Michelle, are you there?
I am. I forgot
Okay.
to I forgot to unmute. I had my finger on it and I forgot to move it. I am. That's okay. I am Michelle Ward, and I'm presenting the Unplugged activity section. I have so much stuff, and if you want to see all of the stuff, there are several links in this presentation, And I think we are going to be sending this presentation to all of you. Go ahead and do the next slide for me, Lena. Next. Now, why is it important that we have unplugged activities? Because some of our students do not have any devices or no compatible devices, slow internet. We are facing several cities that were ravaged by the tornadoes that have nothing going on right now. And whenever things do get back together, they still may not have internet capabilities. So this might be something that teachers could provide for those students. Computer downtime. I am addicted to technology, and I know several of our students are also. And this is a great way to kind of get their head out of the computer. I'm big on hands-on learning, kinesthetic learning. It's just how I taught as a math teacher. I was that crazy kooky teacher that everyone loves to talk about, but my kids really did learn. And sometimes it's nice just to have some fun family activities, something to bring the family together. You never know, the kid may actually be able to teach their mom and dad something cool about computer science. Next, please. I'm going to walk you through, I'm going to try to do 3 of these. And these were just 3 of kind of my favorite ones. And I like to pull in a lot of math because I taught math for a long time. And I also like to pull in some music because that's just something different. Who puts computer science and music together? I do. And I'm also going to have one that deals with exercise, just trying to get us up and motivated. So this first one is a product code check digits. And I taught this lesson 20 years ago with zip codes. And there's no prerequisite for it, but if you want to go through the modulo lesson, that helps. And I'll talk about the modulo lesson later. And if you have any type of item, it has a product code on it, right? UPC code, barcode, whatever you want to call it. And on that code, you have different numbers. And what I did, I pulled the numbers off of this code. The first step is you're going to write your numbers out, but you're going to alternate. You're going to have the odd position ones first and the even one position second. So if you look at this number, the very far left-hand corner, there's a 6. So that's where that 6 came from. And then the next number is a 3. That's where this number came from. And you're going to alternate going all the way across. Now the barcode, the numbers are actually embedded within those lines, and that's something totally different also. But after you get to the end of it, notice I didn't write the last number. The last number is 2. That is your check digit, and it's going to come into play in the last step. Trust me, we'll get there. It's going to be a little bit of math, but I know you guys are smart. You can do it. So first step, you're going to add up that first row of numbers that's in green. So I'm going to add those together. And when I add all those together, we get 17. Now, we're going to continue and we're going to use the digit from the ones column, the last digit. So if you're really trying to focus on the math, you'll focus on the ones digit. If you just want them to get it quick, just say, okay, you're going to grab hold to that last digit, which is a 7, and it's going to come into play here in a moment. Your next step is to add up your second row of numbers. Now you notice that this row is one less number than the previous line. So you're going to add all those numbers together. And when you add all those numbers together, we get 27. Now this example they gave us, you actually have the same number for the last digit. Now I didn't come up with this example, it came off of CS Unplugged. It's a little bit of a coincidence. You might want to try something where it's not all the same digit. So we're going to pull up that last number again, the 7. Your next step, you always multiply by 3. You're going to take the 7 that you got from the last number in step 2 and you multiply it by 3. And you're going to get 21. You're going to take the last digit of that 21, which is a 1. Then what you're going to do from your step 3, you're going to take that 7. Now, Unplugged, CS Unplugged, they got their colors wrong. This one is pink. This number here should be pink. This one is yellow. This number should be yellow. I noticed that, but I figured you guys would be able to follow along. So I multiplied 3 times 7 from step 2, the last number in step 2. Then I'm going to add from step 3 that 7 that we had the last digit to the last digit in step 4, which is 1. And that gives us 8. Y'all with me? That's the worst of the math. So now, where does that checksum come in? So you're going to ask yourself, oh, look, there's some algebra. What plus 8 is equal to 10? Well, we know the answer is 2. And lo and behold, look and see what that check digit is, 2. Next slide. So what does that mean? Or do you need some major help? There is a video, and it's a really good quality video that I've got linked to this presentation from CS Unplugged. And the teacher goes through this also. I think she's Australian, but you can understand her very well. Now, what does this do? Why do we have a check digit or a check doing the checksum? You know, whenever you scan your product and it goes across there, and sometimes it doesn't read right, and you hear this beep. You know, they'll look at it like they're going to run it through again, beep. And if something's damaged to this, if it's bent or damaged, or like that paint can had something on it, then they've got to do what? Manually enter in those lovely numbers. And you know, they're going to kind of look at you like, oh, you had to pick the one thing like that. It's a lot in those numbers. So they'll put those numbers in. Now, if they get the numbers in correctly, it'll ring up right that this was some ink from my printer. But if they put it in wrong, it might ring up as a doorknob. So when you put numbers in wrong, you have 4 different kinds of errors. And this is where I can actually tie it into accounting. Your 4 main types of errors you have. If they entered in and a digit value has changed, that's called a transcription error because they put in the wrong value. 2 of the adjacent digits are swapped. You have what I call a dyslexic moment. That's a transposition error. A digit is inserted in the number. That's something that's not even there. That's called a commission error. Or a digit is removed from the number. That means one is omitted, so that is an omission. Now, there is one thing that you can do with transposition errors. If you're running your code and it doesn't quite work out right, if you take the number, let's say it's supposed to be 56, but you entered 65. If you take those 2 numbers and subtract, you always will get what? 9. So anytime you have a transposition error, if it's off by 9, then you know somewhere you had a moment where you swapped your numbers. Next, please. Now, this next one is the fitness one. There are 2 that I've got on this slide, but we're going to focus on that last one that's called Fitness Unplugged. All right, next, please. So on the Fitness Unplugged one, I really like this one. It's a whole family, or if you have lots of kids, it's a way to get kids together. You need at least 3 members to be working on this. So the first thing that you're going to do as a family, you're going to brainstorm some different fitness exercises. It could be running on the spot, running in place, Star jumps, which is some strange looking jumping jack. Ski jumps, where you're jumping from the side to the side, or you could be catching beanbags. So that's the first thing, is kind of brainstorming and collaborate. Then you're going to work together and draw on each of the cards. Now, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. It could just be whatever you've got around the house. And you're going to write these on the cards. You're going to have a go or a start card for the start of the program. And I put mine in green because green is go. And then you got 4 cards, each with a different exercise on it. So I did the run and play, star jumps, ski jumps, and the catch the beanbag. Then you got to figure out how you're going to finish. You get to choose: strike a pose, sit with your arms crossed, or stand as straight as you can. Next slide. Then they go through all this detail, a big discussion on what you need to do on steps 3 to 6. All you're really doing is placing your cards, figuring out what they mean, and discussing. Mainly if you have an exercise that maybe someone doesn't understand, what are you supposed to do for that particular exercise? That would be a good place to discuss. That way you are talking the same programming language. Now, they talked about placing whiteboards. Now, I don't know about you, I don't have any whiteboards at home. So what you could do is just use a piece of paper. That works just fine for a whiteboard. Or if it's nice, you can take it outside and draw some squares with chalk on your driveway or in the middle of the road. You're going to put your cards down. If you're outside, you want to actually put something on it. So I'd put a rock or whatever you got to keep it in place. And you need a hula hoop. If you don't have a hula hoop, you can use a jump rope, something that you could make into a decent sized circle that would have 2 of your cards inside of it. If you see in my graphic, you see what that might be about. Of course, you're not really telling anyone what does a hula hoop do. Next slide. So what comes next? We get to use a little bit of computer lingo. You got to set the parameters. And a parameter, all it does is tell us how long to do something, how many times to do something. So we know go, but how many star jumps are we supposed to do? How many ski jumps are we supposed to do? To catch the beanbag, but not how many. And then should we repeat the ski jumps and catch a beanbag, but not how many times? Oh, that's what the hula hoop is for. It's a loop. You got to make sure that you choose reasonable numbers. You're not going to do 100 of anything, are you? Unless you're just that fit. So you got to make sure that if you're letting your kids decide this, that they use a reasonable number. All right, next slide. Now, you're going to write in the number of times each exercise should be done. And for the exercises in the hula hoop, you need to repeat both of them how many times. Well, in this example, you see the 3 that's in the card that's above the hula hoop. So that is how many times you're going to go through the loop, or how many iterations that you have. And I snuck in a little bit of computer jargon. Do you have to use computer jargon? No, but you can, if you know it, this would be a good time to kind of introduce it. And then you would kind of discuss, okay, so if we repeated it 3 times, we'd have 10 ski jumps, and then 5 times you catch the beanbag. And then you do that 2 more times. Next slide, please. Then it's the fun part. It's time to test it. So I didn't say about the jobs that each person could have. You have a programmer and you have a tester. So the programmer is going to watch to see if everyone is doing it correctly. And the tester is going to be looking for any numbers to change, or if the activities need more instructions. When the tester says go, you're going to start following your fitness app. The programmer is going to ask the tester if he or she saw anything that could be changed or improved. You can also discuss any computer lingo that you know at this point, or you can just kind of just say, okay, we did it and we created our own program. We were discussing our own programming language. All right, next slide. Now, we get to put computer science and some music together using the modulo operator. Now, I'm not sure how many of you know about the modulo operator. It sounds foreboding, but it's not. All it is that something has a circular reference. Next slide. So what am I talking about? Circular reference. The months of the year are modulo 12 because we have 4 months after November is going to be March, 13 months after January is February, and so on. It's circular, right? Same thing with a clock. It is also going to be circular. Music. So if you name the musical notes is modulo 7. If you start at note D, that's in green, on a piano, and you count up 7 white notes or white keys, you'll end back up on D, which is the same note, but it's an octave higher. And this raises an interesting fact that there are 7 different notes in an octave. Is it? What does oct mean? 8. Is that a mistake? Let's count it this way. So you're going to count the start and the end. So if I count the start, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. 8. Ha, octave. So now if you get nitty gritty, there are actually 12 different notes in an octave because you have sharps and flats, the black keys. And you will have 12 semitones is what they will call it. We call them half steps when I was in music theory. And so if you start at D and you go up to an octave higher D, it's a total of 12 different notes on the piano, just like the 12 months in the calendar year. Next. So the cyclic number relationship comes up when playing notes in computer programs, which often use a digital representation of piano notes called MIDI. So, and I'm going to try to wrap this up very quickly. In the system, middle C is note number 60. C sharp is 61 and D is 62. So an octave above D, which is 62, you'd add 12 and that would put you at 74. Every 12th number corresponds to the same note name. Now, I've got a little bit of a challenge for you. I put a little bit of MIDI music in the middle of this, so I'm going off the chart. The X is going to be a quarter rest. If it is in parentheses, that's a whole note. The red pipes is the end of a measure. So, I gave you a little bit of code. We're going to do this in 4/4 time. Anyone think they know what that is? You need a hint? See if I can do this without messing up. Anyone recognize that? Miss the last note. That would be what? Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. Next slide. If you need to get in touch with me, I've got some articles on CodeMonkey blog, how to explain algorithms to kids, programming for 6 to 12-year-olds. I am on Twitter at Shelly13Ward. You can join me on Facebook at CodeMonkey Superfans, or you can visit my class website, Ward's Wise Wonks at Weebly.com. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle.
Hello, hello. Hi. How to use CodeMonkey or coding to incentive students and provide skills for the future? It looks a huge topic, but I really want to share with you my experience with my students. So next. So how to, I incorporated CodeMonkey in our elementary school. I begin with CodeMonkey Junior. Before it was only available in tablets and also in iPads. However, right now it's available for any device. So I'm really happy for do that because any of my students from kinder, I teach them how to use the mouse. In this case right now, the finger for the iPads and also the mouse. So I believe so it's important to provide that kind of experience to an early stages for my students. So I believe exposing the kids to computers early has the effect of raising awareness for kids' the struggles of technology and gives them the first experience of troubleshooting. And sometimes they are frustrated because they don't know how to use it, but I give you that confidence. And I use some of my students, they already mastered this to help the other students struggle. So I already promoting them some kind of leadership skills and also teamwork. Another skills that I'm really doing with my kids is critical thinking. Sometimes I ask them, so I'm here to help you, but I'm not here to answer the questions or to give you the answer. Please, before to ask me as your elbow partner to looking for a solution, how he do it. Of course, I ask my students, don't give you the correct answer. I give you some clues because really students that they need to thinking a little by themselves because I mention it all the time. When you're already in a test or something, it's gonna be only yourself. So you need to answer the questions for that. So promoting critical thinking, problem solving, teamwork, and creativity is one of my steps for that, for my students. So next. So another great resource in CodeMonkey is the Beaver Achiever. That is awesome product because my students start thinking it's very easy, but it's really the blocking and drop. They're practicing already previously from code.org or Scratch. They see the character, in this case, the beaver, moving out, put it all the drops and the woods and everything is fun for them. And they finish happy for do that. We do this last year with the hour code and really enjoy it. So thank you for do that with my students, and it's an incentive for them because I see the happiness when they said, Mr. Aguilar, I did challenge number 17. I can have 2 stars right now, I have 3 stars. So it's exciting for me when I see the exciting for them as well too. It's a win-win, teacher and student. So next. So for my upper graders, 3rd to 5th graders, they already know a little more demanding with them because I very sometimes struggle as a teacher. They see my 5th graders still typing with one finger. I think so it's for every all teachers, they struggle that in elementary, middle school, and high schools because I don't blame it. Everything you can do it is with a telephone, you can use one finger, or with a tablet, you use one finger. But at the same time, I ask the students, the real world required to have at least 35 to 60 words per minute to type in. So if you want to move into be a programmer, you need to be a good typing. So I reinforce them to say, you know what, let's go continue practicing because syntax errors in coding is very critical because you are gonna be debugging and incorporated a little terms for them to start familiarizing with the term for algorithm, debugging, bugs, and everything. So I try to create that confidence for my students. So next. So like I mentioned it, I started doing my students first. Oh, well, I'm so sorry. I use Dots Math for 4th and 5th graders because my colleagues in my school, they said, Mr. Aguilar, you can help us with something for my students because they struggle in math, and said, you know what, I have a great product for do that. So when they're coming to my class as a special class, I saw my students twice a week for 45 to an hour. I put it this one and said, let's go do math. So Dodo Maths, they give you the challenge to start with the subtraction, addition, and they make some angles. So students practicing a little bit, and my colleagues, they said, okay, their level for proficiency in math, they're little by little is better. So thank you for to do that and say, I don't do a lot because the students do by themselves. Like I mentioned it to them, I'm here to help you. You need to find the answer. So they struggle a little bit, but of course, as an educator, I give you some clues and they find the correct answer where they practicing, we do the math. And also another product after that is the banana tails because they use JavaScript. I'm sorry, use Python. So for that is a little more challenge for my students, but they're doing with great success for that. Next. So like I mentioned it, with my students, I start for the blocky code, and I move it from blocky, the Scratch Junior, I move it to code.org, fundamentals, all the courses fundamentals, and I adapted the curriculum for code.org, computer science discovery. This is the target audience for middle school 6th to 8th graders, but I adapted for my 5th graders, of course, with the permission for code.org to do that. So I attended the conference with the code.org for how to incorporate the computer science discovery to my students. Like I said, I always looking for opportunities to my students to exposure them to say, you know what, this is opportunities for you, or computer science, you need to learn, because when you're gonna be in middle school and high school, you're gonna be see more about this. So moving from Scratch 2.0, because some of my students, they want to continue practice at home, but they don't have internet. So one of the solution is to have the Scratch 2.0 saving on a pin drive and then putting on one of the computers for the parents, and they take it at home, and I give you an assignment how to do it at home step by step with the Scratch 2.0. Of course, the 3.0 version, you can save it in a USB drive, but at least it's the same concept. If they already mastered the 2.0, it's gonna be easy to move it to 3.0. After that, I can be looking for options to start doing the web-based transcript coding. Like for example, right now, CodeMonkey, they use that one. Beatsbox is another great tool that I use in it because they give you like 10 lines of code. But of course, my students sometimes will have a little syntax errors. They forgot to close the parentheses, or they forgot to put the comma or the semicolon, or to have the difference between the square bracket, the curly bracket. So I mentioned to them, that's very important to you understand when you're typing and recognize all the characters in your keyboard, to don't be confusing when you put the different or to the wrong bracket. So, and then you see here in the link, I put some article that I write for CodeMonkey. They have a lot of resources there. You can maybe check it out later on, and I give you all my resources that I use in it by grade. So if you are in pre-K to 5th graders, I really encourage you to, you don't have any program right now incorporated in your school, do it. It's very helpful, and the resources are there. It's computer science first for educators. It's also Beatsbox for educators. They have a lot of resources, guys. Next. How we can use Cody as an incentive for my students? Like I mentioned, sometimes right now when I in the class, regular class, my students like have playing with Legos, so play with Minecraft or play with Roblox, or they want to practicing with the Lego EV3s, so they want to use it. I have a Sphero as well, so I have all these resources in the classroom for them. But at the same time, I said, you know what? Today is the lesson from challenge 1 to challenge 20. I'm sorry, challenge 1 to challenge 10. At least you need to finish with three stars. If you finish that one, you can move, have the option to do Legos, and then you can do a Sphero, or you can do Minecraft. But at the same time, I encourage them to say, you know what? I see you are practicing it, but you have 1 star. What happened if you do improve it? Try to do 3 stars, guys, because that show me that you understand the concept, you already realize what is the problem, and you can maybe have an incentive for that. Like I said, right now, for me, for example, right now, the EV3s, they offer an encoder C at Amazon. They offer a free trial for you as a teacher, an unlimited license for your students. I highly recommend it to use that link if you want to click there for me, Lina.
Sorry, which one am I clicking on?
The Coder C, the first one, Coder
the
C.
first one. Okay. Got it.
Yes. Thank you. Like I said, this Amazon Future Engineer right now offering this for free, guys. And you can register and they ask you a couple of questions. What are you incorporated right now in your school and how many licenses you needed? And they reply right away to you and send it the sign up for as a teacher and you create your classrooms. And like I said, it's free. So you want to take advantage for this, guys. I really want to appreciate it. Let's go back. The other one that I really want to say, to mention to you right now, is the Sphere is also offering free resources, free lesson plans for you, unplugged activities, and also you have the Spheros with you. You can have that learning with Minecraft education right now, guys. If you want to click that link, also I want to share with you guys. Minecraft right now is offering free access for educators and students. So the regular license is not too expensive. It's $5 for the complete school year, but you need to be as a 365 user or Microsoft user to do that. Also, Little Bits is offering a lot of resources for free, guys. This time I try to right now create a server to use for only for my class. Next. So today we cover some of these topics, guys. Really want to say if you have any questions or something, we covered the student engagement, collaboration, equity, unplugged activities, skills and incentives, and I really appreciate it. I'm here to help you guys. Thank you so much. Next.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
Okay, hold on one second. All right. So if you have any questions for us, you can go ahead and pop that into the chat box. I want to thank our teacher ambassadors so much for joining us today. So we'll take a couple of minutes to just go ahead and leave some time for some Q&A. And so if you have some questions, you can pop them, like I said, in the chat box or inside of the Q&A box. Paige, I did have a question for you. My question was, how do you deal with digital citizenship when students are commenting on assignments in your classroom?
Okay, so I've set ground rules with my students to make sure that they know exactly what they're supposed to be doing. We have a policy in school, especially now that they're home, they're on video, that the parents and the students know there's a dress code. They, whatever's shown in the household is, if there's a problem, they will be reported, meaning substance abuse, things like that going on. So it's very well written out policy. Fortunately, because we have distance learning in the middle of the year, I've spent a lot of time going over that at the beginning of the year. Google is Internet Awesome, has some great information that you can go through, and that actually works with that Peer Deck. So if you go to either the Peer Deck website or the Google Internet Awesome website, you can go through those lessons with your students so that they can do that before you actually go ahead and do video.
Awesome. We saw lots of questions asking if we were going to be sharing out the slide deck after, and we will be sending it in a follow-up, as well as once you head out of the webinar today, you'll actually get a request for a survey. And so if you complete the survey, you'll get some professional development credit. So I'm not seeing any questions kind of coming through. So we'll go ahead and kind of move on to our next step here. So you can contact us at info@codemonkey.com. We are giving away subscriptions for the COVID crisis. So you can go to www.codemonkey.com/COVID-19, and we'll be able to follow up with you there. I saw a lot of people asking that in the chat box, so just wanted you to know that as well. You can also contact our ambassadors after this. We do have a Meet the Ambassadors page on our CodeMonkey webpage. So Javier, Paige, and Michelle also all worked remotely to work together on this presentation. So just something that, kind of keep in mind that it is possible to work with other people. This is the best time to be able to collaborate remotely with people and be able to open up that worldwide view that maybe we wouldn't have been able to have in these other opportunities. So if there are no more questions, once again, I just wanted to thank those three for putting their time and effort today into presenting you a little bit more information on Unplugged activities and how to create equitable coding experiences for your students. Each one of these worked very hard on presenting their information to you. So thank you again to our team of experts, our CodeMonkey ambassadors. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to any of them or to send us a follow-up email. We want to thank you again so much for your time, and we hope you continue to thrive in this environment. And if you haven't joined us, Paige, just type this in the chat box. Here, we do have a Facebook group. It is a CodeMonkey Superfan group. It's really for collaboration with computer science and CodeMonkey. So we hope you can take the time to join us there. And once again, we just want to thank you for spending your time. We know it is very precious and very valuable during this time. So remember to write code, catch bananas, and save the world. Bye-bye. Thanks, everybody.